Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, The Black Accountant. It's your boy Mo, and if you haven't already done so, you know the drill. Go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, and let me know in the comments of any kind of content you want to see going forward. And most importantly, don't forget to turn on notification bells so you get notified when I drop new videos. So today I want to talk a little bit about idolizing people, idolizing goals, idolizing celebrities, and idolizing influencers. And overall, how that can kind of be a little bit detrimental, not only to you, but to that individual as well that you're idolizing. And I was thinking about this subject because I was watching Shameless, and I noticed that, yeah, or not, like I was watching the show, but there's like a couple of thoughts that I had here and there of when there's certain dynamics between different characters, like between Fiona and Lip, if you watch the show, or between people in general who just like what somebody is on or what somebody is doing, and then deciding for them that this is what you need to do, this is who you are, because you create this big mental picture of a person, and kind of sometimes tend to make them larger than life, forgetting to realize that these are people too, and we're all people, and everybody kind of has some shit to deal with, and we all might actually or are messing up in different ways that you just not might be seeing. And I thought about this too in terms of my family dynamic and like within my friend groups. And like, I mean this in the most non-narcissistic way possible. Like, I have a lot of friends that tell me like very positive things all the time, and then it feels like it puts me in this box of being like this very specific person, or like this this version of me that doesn't get to mess up, or that doesn't get to be somebody, in a sense, like fully be myself and make mistakes and just do things along those lines. But I want to talk a little bit about that idolization, and I think it's really harmful because, first of all, when you start to idolize somebody, you are creating a mental picture of that person. You might know that person in person, but you might only know a certain version of them. Like, let me give you an example of that. It's like if I had friends who I only hang out with, like the friends that I generally hang out with, I know them to a certain capacity. I know them within a friend capacity. I know a good amount of what they portray in front of me, how they are in front of me, which is still their authentic and real self, but I don't know their full picture. I don't know who they are with their family, or with their private relationships. And that's just me in that specific dynamic and in this example. So for me to kind of like paint an entire picture of that person as to who they are in every specific way is a little bit detrimental to that person, because they're seeing, I'm creating a mental image of who I think they are and who they should be. And if they fall outside of that, then you start to get disappointed, and you put a lot of weight into these people and into that perception, that once they kind of start falling out of that image, you start to either like them less, be around them less, or just burden them with the with your idea of who they should be. And that's not really fair. It's the same thing when we talk about celebrities, and there's always the argument of celebrities and influencers kind of wanting the attention, which they do to a degree, but also it's detrimental to put this expectation on them to be anything but themselves. And I was having a similar conversation about this with my brother. We were talking about music, and I was talking about how I really like The Weeknd and what The Weeknd's been doing with his music recently. And then he was talking about like certain rappers that he likes, and then we got to this discussion about what do people owe you? What do these people owe you? And we were talking about how, as you get more fame or as they get more money, what do they really owe you besides the music? And I was saying that I think they just owe you hope, or to inspire hope in you, because especially black artists, because they tend to like, and rap artists in general, because they feed off of a struggle, and they usually talk about certain things or certain problems in that demographic. So it kind of creates this idea of hope for some people, and it helps people in their mood, it helps people throughout their day, and encourages some people. But at the end of the day, they're only entertainers. Like, they're not actual leaders. They're not political leaders, they can only really speak from their own experience. So that's why my argument was more so like, they don't owe you anything beyond hope. They don't inspire, like they don't owe any of us to be a thought leader. They don't owe any of us to be like the peak example, or like they have to conduct themselves in this exact way. And that's not to say that you don't have a responsibility as you become bigger. You do still have the responsibility, I think, if you're from a certain culture, to kind of give back or feed into that culture. Um, and it doesn't necessarily need to be in the most obvious way. Not everybody always needs to know everything that you're doing. And also, when you idolize people, you're putting them on this pedestal. You're automatically, by doing that, making yourself less. Like you're basically putting yourself down in favor of those people. You're not seeing yourself eye to eye or on the level of that person. Yes, some of these people may seem like they're larger than life and they do these crazy big things, but that doesn't mean that they're worth more than you. It doesn't mean that they're better than you. It doesn't mean that they're necessarily more talented than you. They've just worked either really hard or just had the right opportunities to get to where they're at, and they have a wider reach. So when you kind of put it into that context, it's easier to say like, hey, this is achievable. This is something that I can be. This is something I can aspire to do. I can grab inspiration from this person. I like their influence. I like what their vibe is. I like what they're talking about. I like their message. And then implementing certain things from that in your life, instead of just automatically making this person like your hero, or like some kind of hero worship, and expecting them to kind of fall in line with this romanticized image that you start to create of them. And also, when it comes to goals, it's sort of the same thing. You know, if I recall, like I had mentioned in the previous video, that I was talking about careers, and how for me, like, I started to kind of romanticize a lot of corporate work because of the way that it was targeted around, or the way that my campus kind of made that into a thing where your worth was whatever like major role that you could land in, whatever kind of firm that you can land in, when in reality that doesn't actually dictate anything. And then coming face to face with the reality later on down the line, when you take on these jobs or get those things that you were really hoping to achieve, were they what you expected? And a lot of times the answer to that question is no. Doesn't mean it's necessarily bad, doesn't mean it's necessarily great. It's just, it was not the same expectation, or the romanticized image that I created in my head of what it should be, or what it was gonna be. So I think it's more important to value things as what they are. Give it the significance that it deserves of what it is, instead of thinking about it as thinking about these people as being beyond you, or out of touch, or out of reach. Because at the end of the day, everybody starts from square one. Some people's square one just is at a fancier or higher end. But these are all people. They mess up, they eat, sleep, and crap just like all the rest of us. So that's all I really had to say for this video. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.